How you doing, Pig?
Hey, how you doing, Mario?
Doing pretty well. Well, besides the fact that my foot got in a fight with a bolt a couple days ago.
I'm hoping just kicking it, not a bolt.
I stepped on it.
Okay, so it didn't go through your foot. You didn't like accidentally use a bolt gun or anything.
No. I was tightening down a heavy bag holder. So I got it all tightened down, grabbed the heavy bag, and was just going to, try to put it up there, but I was dragging the heavy bag to the front of the holder, stepped down onto a bolt on the base. So that was fun. That was my adventure for the week.
Fun. I mean, it's feeling okay now, or?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm perfectly okay.
Good. Because when you said something with a bolt, I was like, I'm just imagining something like I don't know. Is a bolt gun like a thing? I'm imagining there's a bolt gun thing, kind of like a nail gun, and you're just like doing some construction, but you're a nerd who's too busy thinking about StarCraft strategies, and you just nail your foot to the ground, kind of thing.
That would be an adventure. I haven't done that yet.
But what if I build the depot on 22 rather than 21 supply? And you're like, yeah, that'd be shit, man.
That would be the thing that would get me.
Wait, have you updated your MMR in the document? I don't think that's up to date. I think you progressed quite a lot since then, because it's been a month since we last did a session.
Let's find out.
Because it says gold tier 3, 2645.
I
feel like you've shared
right now.
2669.
Yeah, but I also dropped a bit from when I put that in. Like, I dropped, and now I've gone back up.
Okay, alright, so we are still hovering on.
So I was trying to figure things out.
Okay, now, in the last sesh, you were trying to learn the core, which is why we had a big break between sessions. So you were kind of saying, I'm just going to learn the core from the start. How did that go?
It's going really well. I'm actually using the setup really pretty easily. And actually, I forgot to update something in the document.
Is there any hand pain, discomfort?
Nope, not at all. I got I had a keyboard laying around the house that I forgot was lying around the house, and I found it almost immediately after our lesson and went, oh, there it is, because I'd been looking for it.
Sweet.
But yeah, found that, been using it. It's been pretty natural too, so. But what I forgot to update in the document is I actually am hotkeying that first tech lab on 9.
On 9. Okay. No worries. I'm always down for like some random little hotkey optimizations that make sense for you as a player. All right. Do you want to load up a replay and we can kind of get right on it?
Yeah. So this is my CTL match.
Oh, awesome.
And at the time of the match, my opponent was Platinum 1.
Okay.
Because he'd recently promoted to Platinum 1 after roster reset. So.
Yeah, and with CTL rules, they can stay there for a little bit. Thank you. So, in terms of game plan, because we talked mostly mechanics previously, I'm kind of... I think you decided to do the beginner Terran opening because you kind of wanted to be a bio-focused player. And we were kind of saying, hey, let's always just do a 2-base tank bio all in all matchups for now as a starting point. Is that something you've stuck with? Where have you gone?
Yeah, I've definitely stuck with that. I think the only change I made for this build was I did a Reaper Scout into 3 racks stim combat shield timing to attack the opponent's base. That is basically all I've changed so far.
But behind it, you were still trying to follow up with a 2-base tank push?
Yes, sir.
How many barracks do you normally have as full 2-base production?
5 normally. I don't know if I did the build properly this particular game though, because I'm a bit of an idiot sometimes.
Hey, we all are infinitely idiotic, but always good to take pride in the things we do right. As always, improving at something as vast as StarCraft. It's more about putting one foot and step in front of the other, right? And it's more about having faith in that process and enjoying that process of being like, hey, I'm improving on this today, and you can still get in your rhythm and flow. It doesn't need to be this unnatural learning experience, right? As long as we're not trying to focus on too much at once. And that's kind of what I always encourage people to do. For some people, they find it a bit easier to do what I would call a less organic approach, something like, a jack attack staircase method, where it's like, you're not allowed to take gas. 50 games, just minerals, just keep expanding, building marines, and you just move those marines across the map every now and then, and you just keep expanding and building SCVs and building marines, and you just keep doing that and working on not getting supply blocked and putting down buildings the moment you have resources, and then you steadily move on up from there, and it's like very much like the most limited focus you can have. And I think it's important for us, if we are learning the game a bit more naturally, to remember to not get caught up in the 1,000 distractions that we can focus on and to stay focused on our clear game plan. So the reason I've asked you, before I've even looked at what you're doing, what's the game plan, what are we doing, is I don't care what happens in this game, and I don't want to know what happens in this game. I'm going to look at it later, but I want to know what your plan was, and I want to look at your opening, and I want to see, are we doing our basics in a way that kind of makes sense? Because even at GM level, a big part of what you're doing day to day is you're loading up a replay quickly and you're saying, did I do my opening right? That felt like a little bit late, or this was a little off, or I've just got to double check it anyway. And this is something you just do a lot of the time, is you're double checking your opening. So in terms of the standard opening, with your standard 3 racks kind of beginner opening build order, you actually could very easily off that do a 3 barracks sort of big attack with lots of marines and stuff, right? Because it is naturally a 3 barracks opening, and it'll be really efficient. Whereas if we look at this game, you've kind of gone in a different direction. So let's take a look at that beginner opening real quickly. I'm going to refresh my mind. So in terms of the build order, oh, there should be a nice write-up actually, shouldn't there? Probably at the end of the what? Or maybe not.
Add-on complete.
Does this one not have a write-up on the screen? It's weird.
You're welcome to StarCraft 1 did. It's like 50 seconds in right before the game started.
Ah, thank you. Found it. Awesome. So we're going to link that up in chat as well, just so they can follow it. Fantastic. Okay, so basically we see it should be barracks, reactor. We did not put a gas written down in that build order. Oh no, I didn't catch that. I mean, it is meant to be barracks first, barracks then gas, right? Either way. And we do like to do an SCV scout with it, and then we go bam, bam. We're going to go 23, 24, third barracks. The second barracks goes down 19 or 20 supply. Yeah. Factory. Cool. Okay, so big thing you want to start getting used to and what you're looking at. Just wanted to make sure I was checking the build order there. Make sure I wasn't telling you 2 different things.
Add-ons finished.
You want to load up a replay, and without looking at any specifics, we don't want to care about a stalker or anything like that, even a probe that harasses us. We just attack an SCV on it and ignore it. What we can look at, though, is a few simple things. So let's go through, and what we're going to do is let's start at 30 seconds, and we're going to start by looking at your minerals. So I want you to take your screen right now. You're probably hovering over your base. I want you to go to the very top left-hand corner of the map.
Okay.
And this way we've got nothing to distract us on the screen, and we're not allowed to go look at our base. And this is what we always need to start ourselves off with when we're training good habits. Because otherwise we get distracted by, oh, that SCV is doing this is doing this. And that's not what we need to look at. What we're looking at is, let's check SCV production first of all. Was SCV production more or less constant up until, let's say, probably 6 or 7 minute marks, whenever we get to about 45 SCVs, which is our maximum amount we need on 2 bases. So look at the units tab, or the production tab, sorry. So we'll check your production tab, and we're going to go up to 4 times speed, and we're just watching the production tab just to get a sense of how good were we at SCV production. So we see a little bit of a gap there. Okay, we started the orbital. So when that orbital finishes, are we going to restart SCV production? Just a second or 2 break there. Ooh, a little bit of a break. A little bit of a break here.
Dirty break.
This is 4 times speed, remember. So that's a big break, yeah. And then we restart. And then there's another big break. Orbital goes down, so we should be building 1 SCV at a time, and soon it should be 2 SCVs, still not building SCVs. We start 1 SCV, but the second orbital's done now as well, so it's not building SCVs. That should be 2 SCVs building at every moment. And just watch that unit tab, And we say, okay, now we're building 2 SCVs at a time, and maybe we're queuing them up a lot. So it seems like it's more or less consistent for now. But there was a big gap early on, and even now, only 1 SCV. Oh, we queued up another. Okay, so we are tapping it every now and then here, but it's also something where we shouldn't be afraid of queuing up 2 SCVs at a time until you get to a higher level. It's totally okay to do that, because we can see it's a big issue. So we don't mind overcompensating a little bit, but we definitely want to focus on that more, because here we are, 6 minutes, and we're only at 35 SCVs. We can easily be at 45 by 6 minutes, easily. And we saw why. So that's awesome. Let's go back and let's do the exact same thing. Stay exactly where you are, top left-hand side. And the other thing we're going to look at is excess minerals and supply blocks. Are you just on the default overlay?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, using either GameHeart or WCS 3.0 is nice. If you go into your F10 options, observer and replay, and just replay interface, WCS might help you out. I mean, if you prefer default, that's fine. It's up to you.
WCS 3.0, you said?
Yeah, give that one a go, since that'll have more information probably on screen. But use your tabs as well. Essentially, we just want you to watch your minerals and your supply. And even on the default, you could just stare at that in the top right of your screen. So same exercise here. Let's check. So I'm going to start writing some notes on this, and you can tell me if there's lots of minerals or any supply blocks that get hit. And this is just such a good exercise for focusing on our most important fundamentals. Even outside of, are we doing our build in the right order? It's, are we, like, there's a baseline of fundamentals that is even more important than doing things in a certain order, and that's SCV production, not getting supply blocked, and spending our money. So that's actually step one, and we need to make sure that step's really good.
Well, I'm at a really high mineral count here.
Yeah.
For no particularly good reason.
4 times speed and look at production for SCV production. 4 times speed and look for high minerals and supply blocks. So you can see a little supply block happening here. Not a massive one. Depot did finish soon after. Was there any supply blocks earlier?
I don't think so.
So it looks like you've been okay with your depot production. So it seems like that's something we can definitely pat ourselves on the back for now. It seems like depots are more or less consistently building, but we are floating a lot of minerals. So we're missing out on big opportunities to do so much more in the game, right? And just get more spending done. So there we go. We can stop that now. Let's look at APM. So we're at about 60 APM. So we can definitely play faster, but that usually just comes down to knowing what we're meant to be doing and having some organized urgency behind it, right? We see 1,500 minerals, we should be like, I gotta spend that money, let's do it. But at the same time, the last thing we want is that to kick our adrenaline to overdrive and just start clicking things and running around. And it's just about how can we organize, spend our money. I like that organized urgency because it kind of gets across the idea of, if you're like, oh, you should just have a system and be calm. Sometimes people just like really dawdle with their mouse movements. And it's like, no, you should still be trying to improve your mouse speed and accuracy, and that'll come with experience. But we also want to make sure we're organized with how we're doing it, so we're not just frantically doubling up on actions. Like, if we're going to change a rally point, well, saturate your main, change all the rally points to the natural. The natural saturated, change all your rally points to your third, rather than individually clicking command centers and that sort of thing. If we're going to build a round of units, don't be clicking on a barracks and building some marines. Select the hotkey, build them all out of the control group. Just all that sort of stuff, and that can make a really big difference for us.
Ready for dust off.
Okay, so this is really important replay analysis that brings us back to our fundamentals. And it says to us, okay, let's make sure we are spending our money a bit better. So let's just go back to one of those first high mineral floating moments. And okay, at this point we have 600 minerals. One of the big things that's happened here is definitely we're probably distracted by our Reaper, so we've done kind of even worse than normal, I think, because we were staring at that. But things were already late from early on with the build order. So I think we just go back, rather than thinking of how do I spend my minerals, let's make sure the build order's ironed out, and if we have more minerals, well, just do the next thing faster. Do the next thing faster, right? So let's go right back to the start here, and let's look at what we should do. So first things first, we should be going barracks first on 16 supply, whereas you went for a gas first. So that's different from how you normally do it. And we really want to make sure we stick with the exact same opening. So if you don't build a Reaper normally, let's stick with no Reaper. Because the biggest thing we want to do whenever we get in a tournament situation is we go, oh, I want to do something different. I want to do this to take advantage of my opponent. But if you haven't practiced it a lot, you're going to do it really poorly, way below your normal skill level. And so that's the number one rule for people when they first get into tournaments or team leagues is let's make sure you do what you've practiced. Don't try to do anything crazy special strategically. You're naturally going to get excited and you're going to tactically focus more on your micro and you're going to adjust a little bit more here and there. But try to stick with the same baseline strategy, do it efficiently, and focus on small little adjustments only when they're really required. Right. Okay, so with the build order, besides the gas first, what are we missing at this point?
Second racks, but
Yeah. So it comes down there a little bit. You can see we've got heaps of minerals. So what's the next part of the build?
another depot and the third racks.
Yep. So there's a long delay on that coming down, right? We're also not building SCVs either. So this is something where it's like, let's look at your camera here and try and get in your head. What was going on during that 20 seconds? So you've gotten rid of the probe. You build the barracks. You start the reactor. We're on regular game speed. You're going to send the Reaper across the map. Your Reaper's not control grouped. We're going to queue it in for a scout, which we took quite a while, and we queued it all over the base. We took quite a long time to do that. Now we're looking back at our base. We're selecting this SCV. And we're trying to remember what we're meant to do next. We've forgotten about the depot. And there we go. And the depot's going to come down. We kind of didn't even need it because everything ended up so delayed that the command center's actually going to unsupply block us. And then we look back at the Reaper and then we're going, oh crap, what am I meant to be doing? Make an orbital. We're going to queue some Marines. Go to Tech Lab. When do you normally go for a second gas with this build?
Right as the factory's going down.
Okay. Now, our third barracks builds a reactor, right?
I was going for a second tech lab here, intentionally, to get stim and combat shields to go.
Okay. So that's a change up to the build, and the problem with that is you're not going to have the gas to do it. So this is like the fundamental thing with where you go, oh, I'm going to do a stim shields timing. But it means we're not going to be able to get our factory on time if we do that. So even though it can kind of time out together, you know, we're going to make things a little bit more awkward with the rest of our build. And that, like, if we wanted to build Marauders right now, or that sort of thing, you know, it changes things up quite a lot. So in general, I think you would have been much better off if you just stuck with the normal build. And if you wanted to, you still could have attacked with just stim finishing and a big clump of Marines. But we could have had much faster medevacs behind it and all the normal things and going into your siege tanks and that sort of stuff. So normally you go factory and second gas, but here we've gone for that second gas. We've forgotten about the factory. And then our depot will start a little bit late as well. We're also not dropping mules. There we go, mules do start dropping.
Research finished.
So I think definitely just drilling out this opening a little bit more and being a bit more decisive with it is going to be really nice just to get things going and making sure we stick to the same opening because there's so much inefficiency with the minerals here in terms of not being quite on top of that production. And it's already hard to do a tight build order, especially in a tournament. You do one that you've just made up or haven't practiced that much, and it gets even rougher. So had you tried this timing attack before, or was this the first time?
I was talking to Dr. Ryan beforehand, and we were going over this, and I actually practiced it a bunch before doing it here.
Okay.
I'm just kind of shit at StarCraft.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't too bad, especially like for the MMR you're at right now. It's just... yeah, the opening was just a little bit slow. Did you practice it with a Reaper when you practiced it?
Yeah, I was practicing with the Reaper.
Okay.
I just messed myself up because I was too focused on his probe.
Yeah.
That came into my base. I realized that was a problem.
Okay.
Though I do have a question for you,
Yeah.
because I'm not sure about this. If after I killed all of the defending units in the natural, should I have dove the mineral line, or was going up the ramp the right play?
You always just want to go for whatever the probes are the most accessible target for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have gone up his ramp. Got it.
Let's take a look. I just want to double check it. I think there's a Colossus out anyway, but
He got a Colossus out after I went up the ramp, yeah.
all right. Sorry, this was earlier. Oh yeah, absolutely. You should have gone for those probes. And if you get on top of them and there's like a Stalker or Colossus or anything coming towards you, you want to use hold position micro. So if they're in range of the probes, that way they'll shoot the probes rather than, otherwise they'll go towards the aggressive unit. So at this point you've stemmed, you've gone in. Move commanding through the Zealots was pretty painful there for a little bit, even though you were trying to stutter step one of the Stalkers. But yeah, chasing one Stalker, not worth it. Definitely go for the mineral line, 100%. 100%. Always probes are your highest value target, and Marines with stem, they can't get away from that. So that'll work out real nicely. Yeah, that'll work out real nice, man. Awesome. All right, cool. So let's hop out of this game. Do we have any opponents who are roughly 2,700 MMR? Anyone in chat who is roughly around that 2,700 mark? Could be 2,300, could be 2,900. Anyone in that range, around gold tier 3, please do let us know, and it should be good. Only if you can help us out, guys. What's up, Z? Thanks for hanging out, man. Chat channel Piggy, guys, if you can help us out, that'd be great. /giant space Piggy, get in there. Shout out for us, Mario. You can host up a map of your choice, and we can get in. If you want, we can grind the combat shield stim timing, and you can do that one, you know, into medevacs as your standard build. But I really want us to stick with like just the one opening for now, because I think honestly, execution is going to be the most important thing more than anything else. So rather than trying to complicate it by changing the opening, you can change your follow-up potentially if you want to expand into different things, but I think if we just choose one and stick with it. So do you prefer the combat shield stim timing attack off 3 racks or the other one with the faster medevacs?
I've been enjoying the stim combat shield timing as an attack.
Okay, let's stick with that then, but let's make sure we tighten it up and it should be real nice. Did you send an SCV scout in that replay? I'm not sure if you did.
No, I did not. I scouted with the Reaper.
Okay.
That was my scout.
Yeah, that's kind. The most important thing is to do barracks gas and actually follow the build order real tight on that. We can still go for an SCV scout. If you want, you can skip the Reaper and just build a Marine and then a reactor or whatever. Or we can just go Reaper, still do it. But the important thing there is consistency and not staring at the Reaper too much. Like if we want, we can control group the Reaper the moment it pops out, double tap to it as it gets to our opponent's base, you know, micro it for 10 seconds and then click it out of their base. But that's if you want to do that. If you're excited by the Reaper, or we can just cut it out of the build completely and just focus on your macro really hard.
And make it a SCV scout.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you prefer?
I've been enjoying having the Reaper, but that's not a reason to keep it in the build.
Yeah, I think we'll go Reaperless for now.
Reaperless, you said? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're indecisive on it, I'll just make the decision, make it nice and easy. It should be good.
Sure.
So we'll just get rid of the Reaper, and that'll be fine. So we will just build a Marine first into a reactor and get those 3 barracks going. It should be lovely. All right. Is Kaivek Terran? Let's check. It doesn't really matter what race he is, so we can just do the same build every matchup. Says good luck. Let's just get the confirmation. I don't know if you can see. Says Terran, yeah. Okay. There we go. Let's do it. Let's dive in. All right, I'll walk you through the build a little bit, but generally, just let's keep everything going macro-wise. We don't have a Reaper to distract us. We'll send an SCV across. Do you know what time you'll SCV scout?
17th SCV, right?
Perfect. Yeah, that's usually a good one for all matchups. So yeah, just get on in there. It's going to be just constantly building SCVs. 16 barracks, 16 gas after the barracks goes down.
SCV ready.
Kaivek's closed the stream. He'll be fine. He wouldn't cheat, guys. Doesn't really matter anyway, because we just need to tighten the build up. At this level of play, it's all just about spending our money and tightening the build. And I also want to write a little set of notes here. So, did I write some of the notes down? Oh.
SCV ready.
Yes, I did. Floating money?
Your SCVs are under attack. Pull
Get a
your
move on.
boys.
It's very simple, he should just send an SCV to do it. Don't get distracted. Send one SCV across the map. Put your guys on gas. Come on, keep building SCVs. Keep your production going. Come on, SCV production. Macro, macro, macro. You only queue up scouting units and that sort of stuff in between your macro actions, all right? Because right now we are very behind. Your rally point for your command centers across the map, fix that up. And you can... And your barracks has been misplaced as well, because we always want to have that with space ready for the thingo. Orbital straight away and get that only command center after the orbital starts. We missed a lot of SCV production at the start of this game, which is why it's a bit late. Let's get the command center going. Bam, bam, bam. Bring your SCV that's chasing his SCV home. You don't need to chase that far. And awesome. All right, so come on, build that reactor. And second barracks straight away. You always want to lower your depot ahead of time.
Your SCVs are getting wrecked.
Keep building SCVs, mules, SCVs, mules. Don't get distracted by your SCV. You're not allowed to look at that. In future, you're going to queue that on a much simpler path through your opponent's base and home in about 2 seconds. Get your depot and then your third barracks going. Let's go, go, go.
SCV ready.
So once you get the, come on, depot as well. We should have pulled 2 SCVs to do that rather than one at a time. Never pull one SCV. If you've got to pull build 2 buildings, you pull both at the same time. We also aren't queuing our SCVs back to our structures. You've got it. Every time you tell a structure to build, you queue it back to the minerals. Very important. Let's keep the marine production going. Let's get your marine to attack that Reaper. You can attack it with a few SCVs if you need. But the important thing is to ignore it otherwise and keep macroing. Keep building SCVs. Get your tech lab going. Orbital command center. Do not get distracted by the fighting. Alright, alright. Now you can micro for a few seconds. So F2, attack it with all your army. Yep, hunt that Reaper down.
The little building on the right side of your big building.
Come on, just A move ahead of the Reaper and then go back to macroing. Back to macroing. So what you do there in those situations is you A move ahead of where the Reaper's running to, and you go back to macro. SCVs, mules, mules, mules. Let's take the factory and the gas in the main. You just clicked a single SCV again. Remember, box 2, because you should have gone factory as well. So if you want to go 2 things at once, you always box the SCVs in the mineral line. You can box a ton of them and do it. Let's practice that now. We're floating money. I want you to box your main mineral line.
Your add-on's done.
Your SCVs in your mineral line, box them, and build 2 barracks. Once you get 300 minerals. Okay. Yep.
SCV ready.
Let's put 2 guys on gas in the main. You're doing a good job now. Your production's going. SCVs, SCVs, mules, mules. And we can change the rally point down to the natural. Beautiful.
Armed and ready.
Alright. We need to be building 2 depots at a time. So 2 depots and then non-stop 1 depot from now on. You don't need a wall off against a Terran opponent. It's a good habit. It's better to have a wall off than not, since we need it against Protoss and Zerg. It's all good. Okay, alright. So we're doing good. Keep building bio. Keep building SCVs. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, grab your army, A move it to 3/4 of the way across the map. Put them on a control group as well, as you should always be doing, and then ignore them for a minute or 2. Keep building depots, SCVs, mules. SCVs and mules are the most important thing.
We could use some help here.
Research complete.
It's alright, we won that fight. We don't need to watch it. Go back to macro. Yep. Ooh, there's a tank, so let's avoid that tank in the middle of the map. But yeah, SCVs, mules, mules, mules. Keep queuing up depots and just keep building bio. Marines, marauders, anything we can. So we're going to ignore our army on the map completely. We're not allowed to look at it. We are going to lower our wall off in case a fight starts. We're going to swap our factory and starport around. Doesn't matter. Swap the factory and the starport. Oh, he's attacking you, so kill his attack. Okay, go back to macroing. Marines, depots, mules, SCVs, etc., etc. So we're doing really good. Let's pause for 1 second.
Game
Take a deep breath.
paused.
It's really hard playing with me talking in your ear. But you've got set up. You're doing well. What's your macro cycle? So every 30 seconds, every now and then, whenever you bounce home from microing, outside of swapping structures around, you need to be building SCVs, mules, depots, fighting units, right? What order do you do that in? What's your personal macro cycle? Everyone has their own order, but we need to be exactly the same and consistent with doing it the same way every single game, every single time, so that it's automatic. So what do you think that should be?
Well, SCVs are the most important for sure.
All right, so SCVs and
so
drop mules at the
SCVs,
same time?
Drop mules,
Okay.
then depots, then fighting units.
So then queue up some depots and then fighting units. All right. See, I do SCVs, mules, fighting units, then depots. Everyone does it their own way. You guys are doing great. Okay, so that's really good, and that's something we need to get back in the habit of right now. It's also something where you can be queuing up 3 SCVs at a time as the fighting starts. On each command center, which means 6 SCVs, right? You can be queuing up 10 Marines right now. You've got 3 barracks, or 4 Marauders and 6 Marines on these 3 barracks, right? We can be queuing up 2 or 3 tanks and a few medevacs, right? Because we're at a stage where we've got more stuff going on. We're not fast enough to necessarily keep up with it. What's another way? Besides queuing up more stuff naturally as the game goes on, so we should have a bigger queue naturally as we get a bigger economy, right? So at the start, it might be 1 SCV, then 2 SCVs per command center, et cetera, 4 Marines, then 6 Marines per reactor barracks. But what else can we do? So, well, what else do you need for your build? What are you missing in your build to have complete production?
2 more racks at least. And then maybe another factory or starport, depending on whether I want more medevacs or tanks.
Let's always try and be tight on our build and stick to 5 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. Because the more we start adding more tech structures, we've then got to build an add-on for it. We've then got to think about it. We want the game to be finishing usually by the 9 or 10 minute mark at first. We want to be focused on this opening build. So we purposely want to avoid any added complexity of thinking about a third base or any more production. We want it to always be the exact same pattern, because what you often might not realize is if you focus on a factory and then getting a tech lab and then building tanks seems powerful, what this is doing is it's distracting you from what you need to do. You are doing a very economic focused build, right? You're building a sick economy. Early on, non-stop stuff, you're getting out a good bioforce. We need to cut that economy off at a certain point, and we need to start working on your micro game, your tactics, your engagement, and your comfort using your army, because that's going to pay off huge dividends for both defense and offense, right? So much of StarCraft II is how you take the fight. Even though people say macro is all that matters. So we want to make sure we're like getting to that 5 barracks. So we need 2 more barracks. What else do we need besides 2 more barracks? What else are we missing on our 2 base setup here to allow us to keep producing non-stop?
E-base.
Do you normally
E-base
go 2 engineering bays?
I usually get 2 at the same time, yeah.
Okay, so that's
Then
not
we
the
need
end of the
more
world.
Gas to get more stuff too.
Gas is actually what I was really digging for. So what we're missing in our build is we don't have the 4th and 5th barracks. We don't have the natural gases. And just a single engineering bay is usually fine. If you prefer to go double, that's totally okay. It doesn't really matter too much. But we're usually not really going up to the 2-2 stage of the game. We're usually trying to win on just +1 attack or just 1-1. But let's try to make sure we do that. We've got 1,500 minerals right now. So let's start off with a macro cycle. So once again, what's the order off the top of your head of the macro cycle?
SCVs and mules, supply depots, Marines. Well, fighting units.
So what do we need besides Marines at this point? What else are we going to queue up?
Marauders, siege tanks, and medevacs.
Beautiful. All right, so once we've gone through that macro cycle, we're going to finish off the production. Extra barracks, gases, and engineering bays. Awesome. Start with the macro cycle, and we'll go from there.
All right.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, on the count of
Macro cycle.
add-on complete.
We could use some help here.
Tanks and medevacs, finish it. You didn't go through a full unit cycle. Always be disciplined. Build off every single structure. Yeah. Yeah, now you can get your barracks, your gases, your engineering bays. Good stuff, good stuff.
Oh, it's on.
I love that we queued up so many more units there. It's much better, much better.
SCV ready.
Let our production do that work for us. So you can immediately put SCVs on gas. Because we just want to get it done straight away as we get later in the game. Beautiful. Now we don't need any more SCVs. All we need is depots and unit production. Because we're about to do a 2-base attack in a short while, all we're going to do is that. And we need more than one depot builder. So we need a second depot builder to go become friends. And they can be best friend butt buddies building depots.
It's about to get heavy.
We're running out of minerals back home.
You'd like to build them in the same location in a nice tight grid so that you don't have to be scanning, around. Liberator in your main base. Let's try to pull the SCVs away, stim your Marines up and deal with it. First thing you always do is pull the SCVs away against the Liberator. Pull SCVs, pull units to defend. Okay. Come on, keep building units. So depots and then fighting units. Full macro cycle in the same order as always. Depots, lots of fighting units, and then go across this map. And let's try and smash our opponent's face in. So tons of units being queued up. Good stuff, good stuff.
Boom, baby. It's go time.
All right. Push across this map. Let's go. And it's on you from here. I want you to use your best possible
Add-ons finished.
way of trying to scan ahead, split units ahead. And all you need to do behind this is build depots and keep massing units. Good luck, have fun. Show me what you got.
Let's have a blast.
So now we're going to watch an absolute travesty of army usage, I think.
Add-on.
The units are on attack moves, so they win. Yes. He didn't even stim, but it actually worked out because he just had too much shit. Kvek's like, what? But his armies just split through the middle of this map, which is really bad. What's he looking at right now?
Some help here.
He's taking depots. Why is he building them in separate locations? No, this is why you come and build them here in the main. Ah. And his unit production's stopping as well, I think. It's not.
We're running out of minerals back home.
Yeah, it's not consistent.
Mineral field depleted.
Okay, so this is like just a handful of units, not worth our APM time. Come on, focus on your macro, keep building more stuff. You can leave those units there and you can just focus on your macro.
I'm in a world of hurt.
Your SCVs are under attack. Pull your boys.
Okay.
Oh, it's on. We could use some help here. Who wants some?
Hey, your base is under attack.
It's a world of hurt. We could use some help here. It's about to get heavy.
So I'm writing a few adjustments for his macro cycle. Number 1 is hit 45 SCVs and then remove SCVs and mules from the cycle. Number 2, lose a giant army. What else do you need to remove from the macro cycle? You've already removed SCVs and mules because you're saving mules for scan. And you don't need SCVs because you're at full saturation for 2 base. Number 3 is fighting units.
It's on.
Cool, fighting unit stays there. If we lose a giant army, we don't even need depots.
That field's been mined out. Hope we
Remove
have
depots from the cycle. You literally can just produce off your hotkeys without ever looking at home. Yum, yum, yum.
That mineral field's gone. Don't spend it all.
Hey, your space construction vehicles are under attack.
Oh, is that what that's
All right, you're doing great. You got a good position. Go home and focus on your macro and focus on dealing with these liberators. Let's try to focus on mostly marine production since we're up against libs. We got it. All right. GG's. Stressful having someone talk in your ear, isn't it? It's shit. But it's awesome because we get to kind of have a few things reminded And then afterwards, hopefully it comes a bit more naturally and also gives us this great list of things to read over in our document. So a couple of big things there is let's try and stick with the macro cycle as much as possible and really grind out that macro cycle. Couple of cool notes. So when you hit 45 SCVs, remember I told you, you actually remove SCVs and mules from your macro cycle, right? Because you're saving mules for scans and you don't need more SCVs, okay? So that's cool. Your macro cycle becomes simpler. It's just depots and fighting units. Now, not just that, often you can queue up a few extra depots and then you don't even need to build depots because you're just focusing on your fighting. And once the fighting starts, you're losing units. Or if you ever lose a giant army, you know, you're losing units. You don't need depots. And your macro cycle literally just becomes queuing up fighting units. You don't even need to look at home purely off your control groups, which is, it's fantastic. It's amazing. It makes things much easier for you as a player, right? So that macro cycle, though, in the build-up stage, before we get to that, very important to follow it. And it becomes simpler once the fighting begins. The faster we get our 2-base setup, the less things we have to worry about with like, adding 4th and 5th barracks, adding engineering bays and starting upgrades, adding add-ons on those barracks, starting, this sort of stuff. I've got to keep building depots. I've got to keep building SCVs and mules. So there's a very hard shift. The quicker you get to that 2-base production, your actual focus becomes simpler and it's almost all on your army from that point, which is this really freeing moment. Whereas a Terran, you can feel like, man, this macro is really overwhelming me. It's very strong. There's so much to do. But once you kind of, I don't need more production. I've got my 2-base production. Awesome. I can shuffle that out. I don't actually need SCVs anymore. I can shuffle that. And you become like, cool. I can put all my focus into my army and your life becomes a lot easier. There's a lot of other small things there, which I think might have been coming through. I'm not sure if they're habits or not, but it might have been just because I'm talking to you, because we're kind of doing the build a bit differently. It's a bit different to what you're used to. But queuing SCVs back to mining after building. How on point are you with that normally?
Not very. I need to work on that a lot, yeah.
You have to. Yeah, that's a game changer.
That's something I've actually put in my, the back of my mind, okay, this is something else we need to work on, but I'm trying to get the build down so much that's just something that gets focus taken away from it. Even though it probably shouldn't. That should be something a little higher on the priority list.
That leads to redundant APM cycles. Yeah, it's going to ruin your build if you don't do that. So that's another one of these examples of us not building SCVs consistently. That's a layer that needs to be underneath your build. So I think things like that, you've clearly done a good job with the depot building. That's the one thing I'm really impressed with is you're consistently building those depots and you're doing a good job of it. But there was a point where your natural wall finished where you did do something which can be improved on, okay? Natural depot wall finished. Find a big area in the main base, often behind the gas, next to your gas, and build all depots here, plus have a second depot builder by that point, okay? Because what was happening is you were spending so much APM going to your natural, zooming up and to the right to build a depot, and then zooming down to the bottom of your natural to build another depot. Those depots should be right next to each other in a tight grid. It's the exact same area where you're just going, box both SCVs, build depot. That's it. Remember when we were building a factory and a gas, we'd click an SCV, build a gas. We'd click another SCV, we'd go and build a factory. That should be, we just box the mineral line and go build barracks. Or build factory and gas at the same time. Same thing with the depots. If they're in a nice tight grid, we can just box those SCVs, build depot, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. So we've got to remember queuing SCVs back to mining, boxing multiple SCVs anytime we're doing more than one structure. And for you, that's going to be most of the time. Until you get really pristine with your build, where you're like, I've got 147 minerals and I'm already trying to spam the barracks key and my SCV is already exactly where the barracks is going to go because my name's special and I'm a insane best Terran in the world kind of level player. Until you get to that level, you're often going to be like, I have 300 minerals. What's next in my build? It's factory and then gas and then a barracks. I've got enough money for all three anyway. Let's box the SCVs, build a barracks, build a factory, build a gas. And you can just kind of do it all at once. Anytime you can batch up your actions like that, it saves you so much time. Likewise, we got to the point where you had a lot going on with your production, and I was like, just put guys on gas straight away. Just because you were there, you'd taken the gases, and it was like, why not just box the 4 SCVs, put 2 on each of those gas guys. It's just so we don't have to bother thinking about it later when the fighting's happening. So anything we can do to simplify our play, make it easier, is going to be great. Massive game changer was you queuing up more units. After we paused the game, and we were talking about like, hey, you've got more production, there's more things going on, there's more fighting at this stage of the game. Queue up 3 SCVs per command center. Queue up 10 Marines at a time. And you actually spent like 1,200 minerals right after that pause. You're at 1,500, you spent 1,200 just queuing up units. And it sounds bad, and there'll be some guy who's watching you play who's like, oh, this is inefficient. No. He's not taking into account where you are at your play in the game. If you were a diamond player, I would give the same advice. But as you get higher, you can start being like, oh, I don't need to queue up 3 tanks at a time. I can do this instead. But we're not there yet. So at this point, 3 tanks at a time is not bad. And you will see in my games, I sometimes queue up 3 tanks and 6 marauders. If I've got a lot of micro focus going, I've got a lot of harassment focus. So don't be afraid to just ramp up the production queues as we get more and more into the game. And that's going to make a really big difference to you as a player. So I think what we want to focus on, and I'm already starting a homework list. We'll play another game with Kvek here. Hopefully Kvek's still around. If you need someone from Artiface, I can help. I can play Zerg. Terran and Protoss says Dickboy Portal. So a parting fan. I'm not sure what level Portal is, but it could be cool to get... No, that's a Masters level player. We don't need you. Even if he's trying to be helpful. Thanks for offer, but no need. Only want same level player. And let's see if we can get Kvek in. So I'm going to start a homework list while you host up another map. And this one I'm going to let you kind of do your own thing and try to naturally work this underneath layer of mechanics in.
Do you care what map it is?
No, you're cool. Doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with. So, yeah, we want to get focusing on core mechanics and fundamentals as our priority. Build order exact timings as a second. If we can just get the general order down, that's actually totally fine. That's kind of, totally fine from what I've seen in your games so far. Make me the ref if you can. Or actually,
I made you the party host, the lobby host.
Awesome. All right. I think Kvek's ready. Should be. And let's do it. You ready to go?
Yep.
So focus on the core mechanics. So sending units back to mining after you build a building. If you can do that, that'll be great. And if you can, whenever you're building multiple buildings, like if you got to build the depot and the second barracks, just box a bunch of SCVs. Doesn't have to just be 2. You can just box like the whole mineral line, as long as it's not the gas SCVs, because we don't want to pull gas SCVs off. Yeah, you can just be like, build, and then you can... Okay, actually, let me correct that, because you're then going to give a queued up shift right click back on the minerals. If you've boxed the entire mineral line, it's a little bit nasty, because it means after they finish mining their 5 minerals, they're all going to go back to that mineral patch that you click. So try to box like about the number of SCVs you need, right? So if you need 2 SCVs and you box 5, that's fine. Doesn't matter if the other 3 waste a little bit of time. I do that all the time, and that's totally fine. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
Awesome. So just try to box it. It's better to box a couple more rather than box too few, but it should be fine. So number 1, queuing units, boxing multiple SCVs whenever we build a structure, make a habit out of that. And number 2, queuing them back to mining. If we can get those down while following the general build order, you are going to kick some ass. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Let's go. Kick some ass. It's the bridge map, guys. All right.
My man.
This is actually very useful. I haven't done a coaching session at this level for a little while, so I'm kind of having to recalibrate as I go and going, ooh, I need to talk about really fundamental things and also write them down over here. And I haven't done this as much. I used to do a ton of fundamentals coaching. I haven't done as much recently, so it's a bit of recalibrating and remembering these fundamental points I haven't talked about as much frequently, because so much of it is in videos where... I talk about it in passing in a video, and people get directed there and that sort of stuff, and I get a lot of diamond coaching. This is about gold 3. 2700 MMR, about there. Dusty, thanks for the 2-month resub. 8 big, just pumped ahead to Montreal soon. Nice. Thanks for hanging out, man. Thank you, people who suggested they could help. Yeah, it looks like we'll be good with Kvek. These guys seem pretty evenly matched. If you need more experience coaching this level, let me know. Is this chemical Nova? Nah, man. Still hasn't taken his gas. Don't get distracted. You forgot your gas. Come on, don't get distracted. Remember to change that rally point in that command center. Keep building SCVs and change your rally point back. Yeah, there we go. You're good. Just forgetting his gas there was real awkward. Like, it's like an SCV comes and he just freezes up a little bit. So I think I'm going to write another little sub list of points here on like what I was saying in that previous game, but I didn't actually write any notes on. Distractions. At the moment, small distractions are having a big impact on our focus. We need to drill reactions as set responses so we can stay calm whilst dealing with things. For example, SCV harass ruins your opening almost every game. I'm not going to say ruins your opening, that's distracts you. Distracts you from your build almost every game.
SCV ready.
So we should refine a set response. What should that response be, guys? Should be select worker, attack move on his worker. Fuck just happened?
Your add-on's done.
Great. Oh, it's typing off the page, that's why. Attack move his worker. Go back to doing your build. If the SCV chases his worker far, bring it back to mine. Notice how his SCV just sits there? Number of players all through Gold League who do this, they put the SCV on it and they never bring it home all game long. It's very high. So the important thing here, guys, has he queued SCVs back? Yep. Status, that should not be queued back, which is good.
SCV ready.
So why has he got an SCV hanging here? Oh, because he queues it to sit behind the natural to see if they've expanded or not. No worries.
Add-on's finished.
Let's just let him find his own rhythm here. I'm not going to say anything.
SCV ready.
Tech lab. Spending his money a lot better. Yeah, he's doing a much better job. Even though this depot is way earlier than it needs to be. Like, I'd much rather we just keep building depots from now. This is good, guys. Yeah, this is better. We're focusing on fundamental mechanics ahead of anything else. My build orders were pretty lax when I was first learning Terran. I was like, I'll just 1-rex FE and focus on building SCVs non-stop, dropping mules, building marines, building depots. And that's all I would do. I'd just build marines. I got to maybe Master 2, just building marines, medevacs, every matchup, every game. Because I wasn't used to the hotkeys for build SCV. Drop mule. Trying to figure out how I wanted to organize my command centers and my barracks. So I needed a really simple army that's basically you just stim an A move. Maybe you flank or you surround. If you want, you can harass, you can drippy drop. But like, I didn't need to do any of that, and it was all just about like, hey, let's get the fundamentals down. So, I think he's actually doing 1,000 times better this game, guys. He hasn't been building his depots non-stop though, which is a problem. He's just selected his marines. Oh, he control grouped him! So proud. But what's he doing right now? He's just queued up 4 SCVs on one command center, not on the other. That's weird.
SCV ready.
Like, what's he looking at right now? He's just spent a solid 25 seconds doing nothing except queuing up a few SCVs. Yeah, he didn't do the full macro cycle. Come on, man. Where's the depots at? What's he looking at? And he's gonna get unsupply blocked because this will go in.
Research finished.
Go, stim. Tanks on the high ground. Oh god. Oh my god. No.
Coming through. Who wants some?
Enemy has a tank on the high ground. When we stim push, what's the response, guys?
Boy.
The
Turn
little building
around.
on the right side of your big building's done.
Go, go,
Every single time a tank shoots me from the high ground. Turn around, get the fuck out of there. All those Marines are gonna be on the pin ground. I'll turn around, Don't fucking run up there when there's a tank on the high ground. Turn around, run back down that ramp and get the fuck out of Kyvek's base. So that would be my advice on if they have a tank on the high ground, guys. And we're going to write that in dot point form in his notes. Turn around and back off. I hope you guys like my cover. StarCraft songs are the best way to remember things in the game. Is this proxy starport again or no? Oh, Kyvek's being a naughty boy. He's being a naughty boy. This SCV is so close. Mario still hasn't grabbed it all game. Did these guys get queued back?
SCV ready.
Macro cycle. Full macro cycle. And remember, you finished your wall, so the depot at builder has to go up to the main next to the gas and start building depots there, and you need a friend for it. So it's important to queue that up. You got this. I don't care if this fucks them up in this game. Obviously, like, focusing on that's a big distraction. Kyvek clearly watches my stream. I should never have told people, hey guys, if you want to win games, just queue random liberators into mineral lines. Up until Masters 1, everybody will fall apart and lose ridiculous amounts of units to it. Not even kidding. If you guys know how to queue liberators into people's mineral lines, it's like 2 league jump. Bam, right there. Everything else you can suck at. If you know how to queue a liberator into a mineral line, oh! OP unit, man. Oh no, his medevac's in the front line. Look at that, live in the main, push at the front. It was a bit disorganized how he got his units together, and like there are better upgrades and stuff for Maru. Actually, no, there's stim on Kyvek. He just didn't use stim. So, has he set his rally point back? Okay, he moved his rally point slightly back, not enough though. Alright, GG's. So that was actually pretty damn good, that game, dude. There was a few things you did so much better. We're not focusing on winning, we're focusing on reworking some fundamental mechanics. There was a few buildings early where I saw you queuing right back to minerals, made me so deeply happy. At the same time, I saw you think about you were going to do that on your gases, and then you're like, wait, these guys need to keep mining gas. I don't need to do that. So really good job. The depots, the gases obviously don't need to mine back, but the other ones you did a great job. You did forget it on your 4th and 5th barracks, which is a little unfortunate. But overall, your macro looked better that game. You were queuing up more SCVs, dropping mules, and you were focusing on those underlying mechanics. And it just felt like you were definitely getting a bit more done in that game. So really well played, mate.
Thank you.
There is still one thing I wanted to mention. I've written the notes in the document. Distractions. Small things distract you sometimes. Like that SCV seems to throw you off your build every game. So I want you to think about what is the exact response. Close your eyes right now. Do me a favor. Close your eyes. I know it feels weird. And just say off the top of your head, what is the exact mechanical response? Like, what do you do when there's an SCV scout that comes in and starts harassing your barracks?
Send one SCV to deal with it. Maybe cancel the other one and send it to the minerals and start with another one. So maybe pull 2 SCVs.
Oh, when you say do you mean pull the SCV off the barracks if it's too weak? Is that what you mean by cancel? Oh, okay, halt production. Yep, cool. So if it's really low, if you're a bit slow, you might need to bring a second SCV and then pull that one off. But otherwise, just quick attack move and that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're quick enough, you see an SCV come in, select worker, attack move towards their worker. That's all you need to do, right?
Mm-hmm. And then back to macro.
And that's the important part. And then don't look at it and go back to macro. And this is something, I wrote this out in your notes, as this is something where the smallest thing, especially the first time you see it, the first time, maybe you never play against a Banshee in TVT. You play against a guy for the first time flies a Banshee into your mineral line. And you're going to it's going to throw everything off because you're just like, wait, oh, okay, I need to move Marines here. Oh, I need to scan at the same time as my Marine stim under it. And you're kind of processing this new reaction. And it tends to throw your rhythm off the first few times you deal with that. And the way we can make it so we're a bit quicker with this, and obviously like an SCV scout harass, this is like one of the smallest things, but it's important because I could tell we weren't methodical with how we were dealing with it. And this is why if you come up with a set play as a response to that, it changes everything. So what you want to do there is you say, grab worker, A-move it, go back to doing my build. Because I'm not sure when the gas would have been remembered otherwise. But that was really good. If you have to pull the worker off, but most of the time we're going to focus on just pulling our worker quicker.